Add Queen drummer Roger Taylor to the list of musicians who recorded a new album during lockdown. Outsider is his sixth solo album and the first in nearly a decade. While he had some friends helping him out, as well as a guest appearance by KT Tunstall, Taylor played nearly all of the instruments himself, which has been a familiar trait of his solo work. Outsider finds Taylor considering a number of subjects lyrically, including his own mortality. While Queen will return to action in 2022, Taylor himself is hitting the road this month for a brief solo tour. We spoke with Roger recently via Zoom to talk about the album and his touring plans, as well as a few choice career highlights. So you've got this new album, Outsider, and in one sense, the lockdown obviously gave you time to pursue doing it, but looking at the lineage of some of this material, for example, Journey's End, which closes out the record, had the idea of been doing this album, had that been taking shape for a while?
Kind of. Journey's End, I think, was the first the first song I wrote. It's the oldest song on the album. It's kind of like the last song you might write, but it's approaching the end, but in an optimistic way. And like there's nothing to fear, and have no fear, basically, and that's it, really. Yeah.
With Queen, your role has always gone beyond just the drums. You're a singer, you're a strong writer. Still, no matter what you do, it can be difficult to step outside of your main project and find the success that you have. You've managed to really flourish with your solo work for a lot of years now. I mean, amassing enough material to put out the Lot box set a few years ago. So what do you think it is that makes your solo material resonate with fans in a way that makes it so viable?
I wish I could answer that. If I had that recipe, I don't know. Well, I hope it does resonate to some extent. I don't know. It's really any solo stuff outside what we call the mothership has always been really just my own individual chance to express myself individually. As you can never really give an opinion within a band structure because everybody has to think exactly the same about something. And we always tried to be apolitical in the band, but you can say what the hell you like really as an individual person, as you know.
And one of the things is that traditionally you have written and performed and sung material on the record yourself. For the artists who are able to do that, first of all, like you just said, being in a group setting, like you're up against a lot of other opinions and stuff like that. So working solo, just in that sense, as you said, it's great because it's just you don't have as much in the way of politics. But when it comes to being able to play all the material on the album yourself, for the artists that are able to do that, it seems like such a liberating thing to be able to just immerse yourself in the process of putting it together on your own. When did you kind of first get the sense that you were capable of doing that?
Well, I guess it is, as you say, liberating and no arguments, which is great. Should we say heated discussions? I guess really my first solo album was called Fun in Space a long time ago, 40 years ago, really. Which I played everything on. And because I just found it, I want it to sound like that. And, it's really great. I'm not, not the greatest virtuoso on all those instruments, but I can make them work. I can get what I want out of them,
What did you discover working in that way, though, that you liked, working in that fashion, doing it all yourself?
Well, the total freedom, really, to indulge your whims and your whimsy. So I guess that was it, really. And this is all me, This is truly a solo album, and as is this one, Outsider. I mean, I've got a guest guitar player. Well, I play most of the guitar, and I have a guest. Obviously, KT Tunstall is on track. And I have a sax player, Steve Hamilton, on another couple of tracks, actually. But apart from that, it's I'm afraid it's all me, folks.
The guitar work, and I don't know, since you just mentioned the guest guitarist, I don't know if this is you, but the guitar work on absolutely anything is pretty incredible. But that leads me to, how did you first get started playing? That was you, right? Was it? That was you?
Yeah, believe it or not, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man. Yeah, because it's stellar. How did you kind of first get started playing guitar?
Well, I tried playing guitar when I was about 8, and my God, it's hard, isn't it? And you know, didn't there's no tuition available really. But then I found I had a better facility on the drums. I started on my mother's, like many others, on my mother's pots and pans upside down, and found the drums much easier. But I kept up guitar because I just love guitars. I collect guitars, they're old guitars. They're wonderful things.
And how did you mentioned KT Tunstall. How did you connect with her for We're All Just Trying to Get By? Because that is such a cool collaboration.
Oh, yeah, she's such a cool person as well. I saw her quite a few years ago, about 15 years ago, live, and she pioneered that looping technique, that Ed Sheeran has made very famous, and he's very good at it. But boy, she was doing that all those years ago. So she's a bit of a pioneer, and she's a good singer with a gutsy voice, and so it was really a joy to have her. Sing along with me on that track. Yeah.
Kind of being familiar with her work in the past, like what did you kind of see that she was going to potentially bring to the song in your head?
Well, just I really said she liked the song, and I said do what you like with it. And so she put these really nice little harmonies and stuff in, and answering phrases. So kind of what I expected her to do, really. But I gave her freedom, carte blanche to do what you want.
So that track is, I love the way this is set up from a sequencing standpoint on the album. The track is bookended by two very different versions of Gangsters Are Running the World, almost schizophrenically so. And I love the purple version, which has kind of a cinematic, almost film noir feel to it. Can you talk about how that song itself kind of split apart into the two versions like that? Because it's really compelling.
It's a good description of the way I saw it, actually. Yeah. With the sirens and that. For some reason, we called it the purple version, and I had like the Detroit Purple Gang in my head for some reason, although it really has nothing to do with the track. Um, yeah, I just like the sentiment of the title, and so I have the more melodic version with the more the sort of slightly deeper lyric. Um, um, which is precedes the track. So yeah, and I just thought, why not have two tracks, same title, but very different tracks. Mm, mm.
What I mean, I think you mentioned that Journey's End was, one of the first tracks that you did for
Yeah.
this record, but just song-wise, like what were the songs that really kind of started to crystallize to where you're like, I've got a record coming together here. Did that happen pretty quickly that you saw an album was happening?
Well, it did. I had Journey's End and Gangsters before, but yeah, really, I guess it was the lockdown, this cursed virus. I was locked down. And I thought, well, I better use all this time to good to good efficiency, and so I wrote the song Isolation, which is obviously dealing with being locked down, locked away, and out of circulation, and just sort of be patient, whatever. It was a time of such uncertainty, and like a dark atmosphere everywhere, and what was going to happen, nobody knew really where this thing was going, this pandemic. So that really gave birth. I was down by the sea. I have a house by the sea in UK, and that really gave birth to tides, which are the only constant is the tide. The only constant is the change, and is the tide. So that was a sort of mood setter for the album. I felt because a lot of it was sort of born there, down there by the sea, and then I had I guess the rest of the album followed. A strange cover of the Clapping Song by Shirley Ellis, which is an old favorite of mine from when I was very young. And I just wanted to get that 60s swing on it. And always loved that track. It's just a nursery rhyme, really, for the playground. But it's just a great track.
How did it fit into the context of this overall record? Because that's what I think is interesting about this album is it's a lockdown record in a sense, but it's not anchored completely to that. You know, you've got
Yeah.
that cover in there. So there's some interesting twists and turns with this album.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't just go on moaning about a lockdown. So I got things like the clapping song, which is very lighthearted, and then I've got things like More Kicks, which is a straightforward, like heavy rock song in the old kind of blues format, and with a bit of a sort of freak out at the end, a fun thing. And then I've got sort of a miserable apology. It's, I know, I know, I know, I know. I've been bad.
And then there's at least a couple of tracks that you revisit and rework from your solo past. I mean, I mentioned Absolute Anything earlier. How did you end up going back to that one in Foreign Sand?
Well, Absolutely Anything was written for Terry Jones, one of the Monty Python guys who sadly left us now. But
Yeah.
he wrote and directed this film, which was very badly marketed. I thought it was a funny film. Robin Williams' last role,
Mm.
and Simon Pegg, Kate Beckinsale, and the whole of Monty Python are in that film. It's funny, but they only had, it was the opening title, and they only had 2 verses in it. So, and I wanted to finish the song because I thought it was a decent song, and if only to mark the fact that it was in that movie. And I really like the way that one turned. It's kind of one of my favorites. I like the way it turned out. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to meet Robin Williams in the
Oh,
course of doing that?
no, never. I never met him.
Yeah.
His actual role was the voice of the dog,
Yeah.
and the
He-
dog is obviously able to talk. You know, and the first thing the dog says is biscuits, and and then Simon Pegg goes, biscuits. He says, yes, master. Nothing else matters. Which I thought was nice line.
he was doing some really interesting stuff in his final years, just like films that were kind of outside of what he was known for. But I mean, really, like
Yeah.
as I'm saying that to you, like he was always doing something interesting and outside
Yeah.
of like what you might expect from Robin Williams.
He was quite a genius, really, wasn't he? You know, yeah. What a fast mind.
So you've got tour dates on tap, and you've done Queen stuff live in the past, and I know you've said you're going to be visiting the catalog again this time around. It made me
Yeah.
wonder what songs in the Queen catalog you haven't had a chance to play live, either solo or with Queen, that you would love to take a crack at.
Well, I don't know. I got to figure that out next week when I start rehearsal.
Nice.
I'm going to see what works best with this great new band we've put together. I'd probably do stuff like, I'd probably do Radio Gaga. I don't know. I don't know. I'm in love with my car. Maybe Tenement Funds. A couple of things. It's a song on my last album called Up, which kind of got ignored, and so I will have a look. I'm going to see what works. I'm going to see what works. I want it to be a real fun tour and a very rock and roll tour.
How'd you put this new band together?
Really, just people I know. I've got the Queen bass player and Neil Fairclough, and I've got Tyler Warren on drums. He's my percussion partner in the Queen shows these days. So we've got rock solid there, and just good players. Yeah. And my
I,
old friend Spike Edney, who is our normal MD, who tells me what to remember.
nice. Yeah, Spike seems to be the utility all-star Swiss Army knife
Exactly.
player between you and Brian and Queen. Like he's done all sorts of things with you guys.
I'm going to tell him that he's a utility Swiss Army knife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah.
Well, I loved, I mean, looking at some of the set lists you've done in the past solo wise, I loved like seeing some of the various covers you've done over the years in your live set, and Rock and
Wow.
Roll by
Where
Led
did you get
Zeppelin.
those? Where did you get that?
What's
Yeah.
that?
Where did you get hold of those? Yeah. Tell me what you got there.
Oh, the glorious internet, Setlist FM. So seeing that you had done, like, for instance, Rock and Roll by Led Zeppelin, Led Zeppelin songs just seem like tremendous fun to sing and play if you can pull that off.
Oh, I love that song. Yeah. Yeah, boy, that's a high. It's such a high song, but high key. But yeah, I love that song. it just rips along, and that's my kind of music, really. You know.
What do you remember kind of about first coming across the music of Led Zeppelin?
Oh, I remember the first album. I mean, most drummers will tell you when they heard John Bonham's drum part in Good Times, Bad Times, first track, and that the bass drum stuff, which is was considered impossible. Uh, yeah, I mean, I just loved Led Zeppelin from the minute I heard them. They were fabulous, fantastic band. Yeah, yeah, the likes of which we'll never see again. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
And David Bowie's Heroes is another one that's been in your shows as recently as the
Yeah.
special performance of it that you did for Rock Against Cancer in September. And you've also done Life on Mars. I wonder what it was that drew you to that one.
Well, it's a hell of a sing.
Yeah.
And I think I did that. I sang that. I've only done that once, I think. I'm a great fan of David's, and he was a friend of mine, and we got on very well. And I admired his genius talent, and I love Life on Mars. It's one of the best songs I know. Heroes is a pretty damn good song too. So they're great songs to sing, and if I ever sing a Bowie song, it's a little tribute to him every time.
And what was, I guess, most interesting for you working with David as a fellow creative type and songwriter?
His endless desire to create. You know, he couldn't go to an art gallery without coming out and wanting to paint. You know, so he was a true artist in every sense, and wow, what a great performer too. And I think it's sort of generally underrated. What a brilliant singer. So he had a hell of a range and sense of drama and charisma. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he was just obviously a chameleon visually, but it also just seemed like he was very much that way as an artist as well.
Yes, I think so. He'd always turn up looking slightly different. There'd be a slightly different hairstyle or a new moustache or something. Yeah, he was extraordinary, really. Yeah, I remember seeing him in The Elephant Man on Broadway, and which is incredible. It was after the movie, and he did it with no makeup,
Hmm.
which is quite something to pull off, and it was a triumph. So it's just a measure of how great he was.
It's the 30th anniversary of Metallica's Black Album, and one of the things that's on their new box set is that great cover version they did of Stone Cold
Oh, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
How did you first hear back in the day that they were covering that, and what were your thoughts when you finally got a chance to hear it?
I thought this is interesting. It's a strange song. It's not an easy song.
No.
It's a frenetic rocker. Good for them. I like Metallica, and I like James Hetfield's a great guy. They're nice people. They're good people. Yeah, I was. We were flattered that they covered it, and good job. Great.
What sort of memories do you have jamming that song with them at the Freddie tribute?
Oh yeah, that's right. We did, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah, good, all good. It was just nothing but good, really. We were so I was in a bit of on a mission, really, on that concert. So and I think I forgot to thank all the different artists, for turning up and giving their time and their efforts. But it was very decent of them to come and play that show. It was a hell of a night, for us. It was such a weird time after losing Freddie.
Yeah.
We wanted to make it good for him, when we had Robert Plant and Elton and Guns N' Roses were sensational. David obviously turned up, and George Michael was fantastic. It was a hell of a day, a hell of a night.
It's great. There's video of James Hetfield from that time period talking about how nervous he was to work with you guys. And he shows up, there's video, he shows up to rehearsal and he runs into Tony Iommi and he says, are you jamming with them on something? And Tony says, yeah, I think I'm playing with you on the one that you're doing. So I loved kind of the fun,
Yeah. Yeah.
casual summer camp vibe to the rehearsal setting. It seems like as kind of the musical campers, in a sense, began to show up, it must have been, speaking to what you were just talking about with the concert itself, it must have been a lot of fun for you guys figuring out what musicians and singers to pair with each of the songs.
Oh yeah, it was a real conundrum. You know, it was well, some things were easy, like David said, "Yeah, well, I'll do it." I said, "Well, you're going to do it under pressure." And he said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Who do you want to sing it with?" He said, "Well, Annie." And I knew I could get Annie then because I just told her that David was wanted her to sing with him, and so so she couldn't say no to that. Um, and it was George Michael chose Somebody to Love, and then he sang Days of Our Lives with Lisa Stansfield, who
Yep.
was brilliant, absolutely wonderful singer, very underrated, I think. And yeah, it was interesting putting it all together. But I think at the end it was, you know, it was a great day, a great day.
Bringing things back to this new solo album, I've always been a guy that, as a music fan, like I'm very struck by, the album cover or the name
Mm.
of an album, and certainly Outsider being the name of this record, it was very compelling. It made me want to listen to this record. And I guess I just wondered, like, how were you affected or changed by this unexpected period of lockdown?
Well, I think lockdown gave birth to this album, really.
Sure.
And like you, actually, I always found the titles and the artwork and the information very important on an album, especially in the days of vinyl. You know, so yeah, what's the title? You know, and what's it look like? Wow, you know, and then great to take it home and read it and listen to it. Great. That disappeared with the sort of with the stuff on the airwaves, but through the ether. But vinyl is back, which is brilliant. It's my favorite. Always the vinyl is king, as far as I'm concerned. Um, I love the 12-inch album format, and I think this came together nicely. It was an idea of mine, which I sketched, and I gave it to my daughter, Tiger Lily, who then sketched it much better than me, and that's what we used for the title. And so I'm very pleased. I was very pleased to see a picture of it up in Times Square. So we sent my daughter a picture of that, and she's very pleased about that. Mm.
How productive was the period of recording? Did you wind up with more songs than what made it to this record?
No, I could have done, but I thought that's it. We have enough. And I think the last thing I did was that cover of the old one, Foreign Sound. So that seemed to sort of put the set together to me. So yeah, I left it there. I could have done more, but I think you have to know when to stop.
So I imagine that, KT obviously probably sent her contributions in. Were
Yeah.
you able to work in person with anybody, or was it all virtual kind of in that way?
No, I worked only with the horn section on the clapping song.
Hmm.
Oh, and Gangsters, the purple one, uh, and my friend Jason Falloon, the guitar player. Yeah, he was in the studio with me. But apart from that, it was all moi.
Is Since you mentioned Gangsters, is that going to be in the live set, and which version?
And that's a good point. And I'm going to try them both and see if either work. And
Nice.
if they work, they'll go in. If they don't, no. It's you never know which songs you can really pull off until you try them, I think.
For you personally, what is the one that you're like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to totally work live. What's the one that you're most, excited about trying out?
I think more kicks would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, and the rest I have to see. I have to
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
Well, moving towards wrapping up here, I just want to just ask, beyond this record and the kind of the tour dates that are on tap, like
Yeah.
what else is, What else is kind of on the schedule for you here in the coming, the next 12 months or so?
Well, after this tour, I'll take a rest, and then we have the big Queen tour next year. The mothership goes out, and I can't wait. It's Europe, not the
Nice.
States. We'd love to come back to the States, though, because it's so great. It works so well there. Everything is easier to organize. But yeah, we're off in May, June, July, all over Europe. Going to do 10 big nights in London, maybe 11. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Brian and I are really looking forward to it. I know Adam is too. So yeah, that'll be great. That's our next major outing, but we would love to come to America one more time at least.
What's the general theme of this upcoming set of Queen dates?
Well, I think we had a great new production that we took out to Korea and Japan, Australia, New Zealand. And I think we're going to continue with that actual production, although the set list might change. I think, in the light of what's happened, we definitely rethink the set list a bit, Although, all the old big,
The old war horses.
yeah, the old monumental anthems will be in there.
Yeah, I saw the show here in Cleveland, and I mean, seeing that giant like News of the World robot, like it just was a great production. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you have up your sleeves for this next round.
Yeah, this is quite different. Although I think he does feature a little bit. We call him Frank, by the way.
Very good, very good. Well, hey Roger, thank you as always for the time. I'll let you run on, but congrats on this new solo record, Outsider. And I know that we're all looking forward to seeing what you have up your sleeve for these solo shows as well. So good luck as you embark on all of it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
That's Queen drummer Roger Taylor. Find more from Queen and Roger Taylor by clicking the link in this video's description, and make sure to subscribe to our UCR channel here on YouTube for all of the best news and history of classic rock and pop culture.